What I see a lot of in my practice, which I think you can probably relate to, is if you're somewhere along the journey of gaining your healthy relationship with food, is the temptation to bring old patterns into this new way of eating. What I mean by that, it's very tempting when all we know, all we're familiar with is rules and what should you eat, what shouldn't you eat, what should you do, what should you not do. If we're used to living like that for years, then it's very tempting to take this idea of a healthy relationship with food and try to break it down into what makes sense for us, which is what are the rules of having a healthy relationship with food. But you probably, if you resonate with this, you've probably also thought, well, that doesn't seem quite right. That doesn't seem to make an awful lot of sense. If a healthy relationship with food is just another list of rules, I might be eating enough, I might be eating all foods, but if I'm still living by rules, then I'll probably still be stressing about food or analysing food. I won't be mentally free. It's an improvement, but it's not a healthy relationship with food. So how on earth do people who have a healthy relationship with food, how will you, when you have a healthy relationship with food, know what to eat, know when to eat, know how to eat, and know why to eat without rules? How does that work? In my opinion, by the way, and in my experience, a healthy relationship with food, knowing what to eat and when and why and how, is very context dependent. And I have this soundbite with clients, which I'll encourage you to take with you for your own consideration. Replacing the shoulds, and you hear that voice in your head saying, you should do this, or should I do this, or you shouldn't do that, with what's the most helpful thing to do. Because this not only keeps your mind on learning more about what the most helpful thing is to do to care for yourself, but it also takes into consideration the fact that it's context dependent. What is most helpful to do for you in that particular moment regarding food. And it gives you the very important space you need to be able to learn and to build up your own wisdom about your relationship with food and what's helpful and what's not helpful. Because without rules, wisdom and experience is what you'll probably find that you rely on to know what and when and how to eat with a healthy relationship with food. And you'll notice this also accounts for your wants and your needs and respecting both. For instance, sometimes in a particular situation, the most helpful thing to do is to eat an ice cream. That's the most self-caring thing to do. And in others, that's not the most self-caring thing to do. So there's a real motivation shift when coming from dieting and rule-bound thinking to a healthy relationship with food. Having a healthy relationship with food is a real look inwards to your intuition, in my opinion, to self-care and being motivated and acting from a place of self-care. Let me give you an example of how this might work. Let's say there's a girl, we'll call her Hannah, and she's improving day by day her relationship with food. That's her goal. And she wakes up one morning and she's not hungry. She's not hungry at all. But she's got about 7 hours worth of lectures with no break in. What's the most helpful thing for her to do in that situation? Let's say Hannah wakes up one day and she's not hungry. She's at home for the rest of the day. She's got a completely free day. She can do as she likes. What's the most helpful thing for her to do in that situation? Let's say Hannah wakes up and she's very hungry and she's meeting friends for brunch in 45 minutes. What's the most helpful thing for her to do in that situation? Now let's say it's the day that Hannah has loads of lectures and she's not very hungry, but she makes herself a breakfast anyway, even though she's not very hungry, to try to keep her going until after she's finished with her lectures. And let's say about 4 hours in, she starts to get very hungry. What's Hannah to take from that? If I'd eaten any more breakfast, I would have been really overly full and not very comfortable. So eating even more may not be the most helpful thing. I could discuss with my professors or lecturers on the day to explain. If I see 7 hours with no break, to say I am going to need a break to be able to have a snack and to take a snack with her and to be a bit more assertive about what it is that she needs. Or she could think next time a situation like that arises, I could take with me a filling smoothie to sip on during class, if that's allowed. But you see the point that I'm starting to make is asking the question, acting from a place of self-care, what's the most helpful thing for me to do right now? And you do the best with the information that you already have, with the experience that you already have, knowing full well that sometimes it will pan out great and sometimes it will pan out horribly wrong or a little bit wrong. And then at that point, you take that information, you learn from it, and you take it forward again as more experience into the future. And this is why the journey, in my opinion and experience, to a healthy relationship with food is a journey. It's so tempting, I fully understand. I fully empathize with wanting to have a healthy relationship with food overnight. But when we're talking about being in a state where we're relying on experience and wisdom, then we need to account for enough time and enough experience for that, right? It also means that gaining a healthy relationship with food massively relies on lapses and learning from them and problem solving. This is such a fundamental part of the process, and I hope you can understand why now, or see why. You do the best that you can, you learn, you grow, you move forward. You do the best that you can, you learn, you grow, you move forward in a step-by-step snowballing way. You're building up the experience, building up the wisdom, knowing that you won't get it 100% right every single time. I don't make the most helpful decision every single time. We spend our lives learning, but the point is to give us the space to gain enough experience and wisdom that we feel very confident moving through our day without analysing our food, without trying to place rules on ourselves, because we trust ourselves. If you're at the point where you're looking for someone who understands to go on this journey, at least the start of the journey with you, to help you to distinguish between what's helpful and what's not helpful, to help you to problem solve, to help you to learn in a really effective way and overcome obstacles as quickly as possible so that they don't turn into setbacks, then you're very welcome to book in a discovery call with me to see if we're a good fit. My clients consistently move from thinking about food all the time and binge eating to a more balanced and relaxed and healthy relationship with food that comes naturally to them.